Today, Precarious plays
Lost Kingdoms 2. Did the first game have peaceful NPC towns? It didn't, did it?
I don't think so. I remember the first game being like a voidscape of sadness and danger in general.
Like sort of like a what? Some sort of forgotten sovereign nation of some description.
Yeah.
Only there was a short, snappy term for like a bygone city-state. What? Principality.
Something that has been misplaced in the annals of time.
Well, one day we might come up with a succinct way to describe such a location, but for now, we can hang out in this cool this peaceful NPC town.
That's neat. I have to say, one of the things that I was noticing last episode was...
Don't forget, I'm a thief.
This is true. Which is why you need these peaceful little NPC towns, because you need a fine group of doofuses to trick and nab things from. Okay. Congrats!
I do like that. So
good.
Congratulations. Sorry, you were saying before we were interrupted by literal garbage?
I was saying that this feels a lot more related to Dark Souls visually.
Yeah, and I think a lot of it has to do with that camera position. I keep mentioning Dark Souls, and that's... I think that Dark Souls is too far removed and a little too refined.
Mm-hmm.
I know that you are not as familiar with it, but I think that Demon Souls is a more apt point of comparison.
Yeah, it probably is. I really am not familiar with Demon Souls, though. I think the only thing that I remember from Demon Souls was like the character creator. And that was not particularly
robust.
Or just, noteworthy in any way. It was just like, hey, there it is. Making a character. Like, look at this environment. They really have this grandiose, turn around.
Which direction? This way?
Behind you. Doesn't that grandiose architecture feel like it's beginning to be one of the staples?
I don't know. I wouldn't... No, I think that if there's a staple of the Souls series, it would be Rune. It would be Decay. I think that the number of... For every one... You know what? Actually, I was gonna cite Anne Orlando.
Mm-hmm.
Because it's very shiny and pristine in memory, but even that, it still had damage and flaws and dead ends and stuff.
But that was a different story. I disagree with you, because I think the way that this is playing with scale, in comparison to your character and how things are laid out, I think that this is very reminiscent of... you ever walk around in a game and everything feels a little bit too... not too person-sized, but everything feels very, perfect for the characters that are living in it?
Maybe? I'm not entirely sure, just because I normally think of a lot of third-person action titles as everything having to be a little too big to accommodate clumsy gameplay and animation issues. For example, you might not have recognized it. Most doorways in video games have to be huge compared to real-world doorways.
But that's not what I'm talking about.
Relative to the scale of the people that are moving through them.
Right. So I'm talking about the sum of the parts, okay? So imagine how you feel when you are walking and I'm talking about in meat space, okay? In meat space, when there's a small town with sort of narrower streets and shorter buildings and things like that, a more, I don't know,
intimate?
Yeah, a small towns, old school Main Street type places.
Yeah.
Okay. So those feel a little bit more intimate and close. Like everything feels physically close. But then imagine like when you go to a place like let me think of somewhere that's been really engineered. Like the National Mall that is built to feel larger than life. And those buildings are built, like they do accommodate the people that are intended to visit them, but at the same time, they are made out to be very grandiose just by their structure. Like this area right here feels a lot more close. But when you go over to the town square, like they're playing with architecture. Or not the town square, whatever that monument stinking thing is. Like the fountain's kind of big, but if you go over to that plaza where those people are standing, even in this small place, that piece of architecture is really big and grand in comparison. And I feel like there are a lot of places in Dark Souls that really play with that to its fullest without being too goofy. I think that it's a really clean representation of what it is to make somewhere grandiose, just by including a lot of empty space. Where I think sometimes in the name of running through an environment efficiently, things that are supposed to be grandiose are just made to be like really tall, and they push everything close together.
Here's an important change that I want to point out now, because I didn't learn about it until earlier today in preparation for playing this game on the show. This smug prick.
That one?
Yeah. Okay, so this is what happened the first time I went through. I was like, oh, what are you doing back there? You look suspicious. And he's like, hey, that's a nice rune stone. I have something you need for me. Your 1,000 gold pieces. I'll give you the best card you ever saw. And then I was like, oh, okay. Magic Carp, got it. Magic Carp peddler. I see your game. And then I completely forgot about him.
Yeah.
Do you remember the capture card mechanic from the first game?
I do not. Refresh.
You could throw a card, and if it struck an enemy that was very near dead, it would deal it would deal a pathetic amount of damage. But if you killed an enemy with it, you would capture them and put them in a card forever.
Pokeballs.
Right.
Yeah.
That guy sells Pokeballs because that mechanic has been curtailed.
Oh.
So now capture cards are a literal card, a blank that you have to insert in your deck. And I think it's like it's a one-time use affair, and you have to come back to this guy to buy more, from what I understand. I completely missed it my first half playthrough.
You said get bent.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
Hey, wait for me. I want to play too. Oh, why don't you just play with some of your monster friends, freak?
Oh, you can play.
So see how the camera is always moving at least a little bit?
Yeah.
Hand over the stone.
Whoa.
I'll never give it to you. My mother
It is
gave me
far and
the
away
stone.
my biggest problem with this title, because occasionally, this is fairly reserved, but occasionally it's sort of sickening.
Yeah.
Like the camera will just not sit
Everyone's
still,
so mean to me all the
and see like that weird cut where it suddenly started
stones.
turning to the right.
Why?
Sorry, I was doing analysis over the cutscene. Are you interested in the story? Do you want me to keep my
I'm
gob shut?
interested. I'm interested until I'm not interested.
Okay, well make sure you tell me when you're not interested. Do you want me to recap that for you?
That was just her having some kind of flashback, right?
Yes, to the girl from the intro.
Yeah.
The little blonde girl from the intro. with a very familiar looking runestone.
Mm-hmm.
I wonder who it could have been.
Okay. No guesses.
Red fairies are back.
That's cool. Wait, let's go back to this capture card mechanic. Do you at least definitely get to capture what you're trying to capture?
I think it follows the same rule as in the first game.
No! That's...
Well, I mean, I don't think it's consumed if you fail. I think you get it back.
That's what I was asking.
I'm pretty sure each one, if you try hard enough, eventually it will. It's guaranteed to turn into a card.
That's a little more forgiving.